Hello and welcome to episode 119 of the Mouses Makes Knitting podcast. My name is Mandy, sometimes known as Mouse, and my co-host Miss Poppy is still under the dining room table. It's a long story. If you've been here before, you may know what I'm going on about. She's still being weird. Poppy is a cat. If you've not been here before, there is not a human hiding underneath my dining room table. It's Poppy the cat, who's normally in that basket. Just thought I'd better clarify in case anybody has stumbled across this and is confused. Right, I'm going to stop talking about that now. I've got very little to show you this week. I have got some confessions to make because I have been casting things on, but I will explain when I get there. There is a reason. I've spent a lot of time this week doing things other than knitting, and yeah, consequently I don't have much to show you. I've been through my entire stash. I thought that it meant that I would make a load of space, and I got rid of 2 bin bags full of acrylic baby yarns mostly, and other things that have been lurking about in my stash for many years and I probably wasn't going to use because they weren't the colours I liked anymore, or what I'd bought them for I didn't want anymore. And it doesn't seem to have made a bit of difference. So yeah, that was kind of a whole day of shifting heavy boxes, and yeah, I won't say it was a waste of time because I have sent some yarn to the charity shop and that's a good thing. But I did think that I'd be able to get rid of some of my hand dyed, and it turns out I want all of it. So what I did do though is, as I went through it, I have bagged up colours that go together in 3s and 4s, and I think there may be a couple of 5s. So that this year, as I work mostly from stash and mostly from pattern stash as well, I've prepared a not very short list again. I'm going to show you. Let me see if I can get it out from under the desk. So this is my not very short list. There are socks, blankets, cowls, hats, mitts, and at the very back a few sweaters. So yeah, I have already seen patterns that I want, and I've so far managed not to buy them. I mean, it's the 9th of January, so I don't think I really need a gold star on my chart just yet. But what I've done, rather than buy them and then stick them into a pile that I probably won't get to for another 2-3 years, is I've just put them in my favourites, in my wish list, so I know where to look for them when the time is right. And I say I'm working from stash. Obviously, I'm dyeing my own yarn, so some of that is working its way into stash. And I had the choice of adding it just to stash, or casting on, sorry, I went off the edge of the screen again, or casting on more projects. And had another count up of my projects. My totals so far had been wrong because I've remembered 2 that I'd forgotten about. Where's my piece of paper? It's a bit, even I'm horrified. Yeah, I'm up to 35 projects carried over from last year, and I have cast on since the 1st of January, so in the last 9 days, 4 blankets and a cowl. Yeah. So, that's my confession. But I have a reason. It's better in a project than in stash, and also it's kind of shop samples because it's yarn that I've dyed to go into the shop. I need a sample for photographing, but I thought, well, if I knit it up, then I've got examples of what it looks like knit up, haven't I? Am I convincing anybody? Anyway, let me show you. I'll show you what I've cast on first. So this was, or is in fact, this is one of the January colourways. This is Garnet Tonal. Now, I got told off the other day by one of my friends because I fuss and I say, oh, it's not the colour it looks on the screen, and I really fuss. And she said, look at it on your laptop. It's the right colour on my screen. But how does she know? Because she's not seen it in real life. So how does she know it's the right colour? So what I'm seeing on screen there is not. It's a very pinky red, and that's not really. It's a lot brighter than it is in real life. And I have this colour obsession, as you may know. So it really bothers me that I can't show it to you correctly. Anyway, this is the Garnet Tonal, and with the tonals I'm making My Favourite Blanket. That's its name, My Favourite Blanket by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. I'm not a patron, but I got the pattern by following along with her tutorials last year. It's written for 2 fingering weights held double. So as there is a tonal and a variegated, you would have thought it would make sense for me to hold them double, wouldn't you? This is me we're talking about. Excuse me. So it is fingering weight held double, but I've held the tonal double, and I had a reason for that. Obviously it was 100 grams gain, and I want to get as much used as possible because I don't want to keep adding to stash. So this is the first segment of it as per the pattern. I have blanket statistics in my little folder as well. This used 78.5 grams in this triangle. Obviously as the blanket gets wider it's going to use more, so I'm not worried about that. But it meant that I had leftovers. Nearly 30 grams worth of leftovers, in fact. So I started a Cozy Memories blanket, which used another, let me consult my paperwork. Oh, I didn't write it down. I think it's about 10 grams. What did I? I thought I did. Yeah, 9.19 grams. Doubled again. And I still have this much left. So that will go into my stash for my triangulum, any other scrappy projects. So I think out of 100 grams, having that much left is not bad. It's better than putting the whole 100 grams into stash. But then, of course, there was the Garnet Variegated, and again, I had another 100 grams, and I didn't want to make 2 blankets the same. So, looking at what I'd used for the small Cozy Memories square, I have made a large Cozy Memories square. And this is the Garnet Variegated held double again. And I worked it out. I thought the way I'd worked it out, I would use 90 grams. And I did it very scientifically. Because if this was 9, call it 10. And I drew out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, until I got a square. And I got 9 squares that size. So I thought this is going to use 90 grams. It used 78.93. So almost exactly the same amount as the other blanket with the tonal, which was disappointing. I thought I would use more. So I've started adding that into this blanket as well, which is actually quite good because you can see the 2 colours together, even though they're not right, Sally. So there will be probably about the same amount left over from this. And again, that will go into my, I've got lots of scrap blankets on the go. That will go into that. I did start another blanket, which I can't show you until February, because I started it with my Mystery Minis Club. So obviously that's still live in the shop, so I can't show you what I've done, but that is a crochet blanket. I'm very excited by it. It's my own pattern using stuff that I've seen in tutorials, so I'm quite excited to show you that. And in the spirit of confessing, there will be another one, because I accidentally signed up for Yarn Unique's Mystery Mini Clubs around about Christmas time, when I forgot that I wasn't buying any yarn this year, and so I'm going to have to start a blanket and put that into it as well. But hopefully all this research that I've done will help me to make a blanket that uses up every bit of that. So that's my blanket confessions. The other thing I cast on, I talked about last week, but I couldn't show you. I'm going to show you a little bit this week. But if you are still knitting this, or if you've got the pattern but you haven't started knitting it, I'll tell you when to look away. This is a mystery knit along. It's called The 12 Days of Knitmas by Nomadic Knits. And it started on Boxing Day. Well, I didn't find the pattern till after that. So I started it on the 1st, and I've already fallen far, far behind. I have knit days 1 and 2. So I'm going to show it now. If you want to look away, now's the time to look away. It's going to be a bit hard to show you, I think. There we go. So the stripes were day 1. This bit was day 2. I'm knitting it with some mystery yarn as the background colour, which is surprisingly coming up with some colours that I didn't know were going to be there. You see this sort of like a fawny beige, pinky colours. There's more colour in it than... That's a tabby cat hair. I don't even know how that's got in here. Lily doesn't come in here much. Derailed myself again. I didn't think there was that much colour in it when I saw it in the ball. And with it, because you need 6 20-gram minis, so with it I'm using, and I found this, it was in my yarn bowl, a set of green minis from Ducky Darlings that I got at the Southern Wool Show, and a different green, this one, which I thought came in my advent, but I think it might have come from a mini set I bought from someone else that I cannot remember. It's not Ducky Darlings anyway, that's all I can tell you at the moment. I'm sorry, Ewan is cooking himself some lunch and the smell is coming into my room and distracting me for 2 reasons. One, I am hungry, and B, I get very distracted by smells. If I can smell cooking or food, this makes me sound really greedy, but it's not about that at all. If I can smell it when I'm sleeping, it wakes me up. Or I can't get to sleep if I can smell it. And the people next door, ramble, the people next door work shifts, so they'll very often cook in the middle of the night, and the smell comes in through the fan vent in the bathroom and wakes me up. That's an insight into my life that nobody needed to know, really, is it? So yeah, that's 2 days. It's a really interesting project. I will be working on it for the rest of today, trying to catch up. It gets more, there's more knitting in later days. I was lulled into a false sense of security by that being day 1. But there's only 12 days of it, and so you can imagine the sections are more that sized, if not a bit larger. But I'm excited to get it finished and start wearing it, preferably before the cold weather goes. So that's 4 of the things that I've cast on. It's the things that I can actually show you. And I've realised I've rushed through this. It's only 15 minutes. And I haven't really got anything else to show you. I can show you a little bit of something else. You don't need to see Dave's socks. That's not very exciting. This is my Glittering Snowscapes shawl by Stephen West. It's the Hyber Knit Along for this year. And I've done a very, very little bit. That was the marker that I couldn't put in last week. Turned out I made the markers and I'd broken the lobster clasp, so I put a new one on. So yeah, I've done that much, but you can see how the second colour is blending in. That's exciting, getting the second colour in. I want to get on with that, which I probably will do. Once I finish this mitered square, I can get on with things I'm supposed to be knitting. It's only Tuesday as I'm recording this. And this week is the week that I was planning to start getting into the routine of working through my whips. Did I need to tell you anything else about that? I told you all about the yarns the other day, and I'll tell you again next week probably, so there's no point. The thing that I've been knitting on every day is a Musselburgh that I'm making for myself, and I'm making it with some gradient yarn. And again, this is a shop sample, really, that I'm knitting up. Although I have wanted a Musselburgh. I don't know how many I've knit. Loads is the answer. And I still don't have one. So this one is for me. And it's with my new gradient cakes. So I'm knitting it up to go into the shop. And as you can see, it will have a black end that fades into pink and a pinky purple end that fades into the greys. So I think the middle is going to be about there. And it's just becoming obvious that there's more pink, or more purple really, than there is black. I don't know how I feel about these kind of V's in the middle. But these will be going into the shop probably the February update, which will be first weekend in February or last weekend in January. I can't remember. I went through my diary and I marked them all out and I can't remember. But anyway, they're going to be listed as 2 separate things because there's a limited number of options you can put under a listing. And so I've put black and a colour and then 2 colours. So there's about 18 different colour choices, I think. And if there's absolutely nothing there that tickles your fancy, but you do want something dyed up to do this, then you can always message me and we'll sort out what can be done. So I've been doing a little bit of this every morning, sometimes only a couple of rows, sometimes a large chunk. Depends how long I sit in bed, putting off getting up and starting my day. And then, apart from Dave's sock, which I've finished the toe, I've almost finished the leg on the second sock. And once I get the leg done, I'm going to record a tutorial that I've been asked for, showing how I do an afterthought heel. And that's it, really. That's the only knitting I've done. Not very much. Admittedly, the thing that I can't show you, I did have 3 or 4 goes at trying to get it the way I wanted it. So that took up quite a bit of time, but mostly it's because I've been doing things other than knitting. We can't go on like this. There must be more knitting in my days. So I'm going to work on that next week. I think next week my goal is to get as much of that cowl done as I can. I should be able, even if I follow the days, by this time next week I should have another 7 days done, so it'll be almost there. And then I want to knit more socks for Dave this year. I've got plenty of socks. I've got a new pair of socks on at the moment, actually, that I knit as part of Denise from Dear Designs Year of the Sock last year. I'm going to put a picture in here for you. Those are the socks I'm wearing today. So I don't need any more socks at the moment. Dave's only got 4 or 5 pairs and he does like them, particularly in the winter. So I have earmarked 3 or 4 balls of yarn for his socks. So I've got 4 to finish for myself, but they're part of my whips. So what I'm thinking is that I will concentrate on a large whip, a small whip, and a pair of socks for Dave. And then, when I say whip, I mean, you know, hung over from last year. And then adding, what's the word I'm looking for? Birthstone collection yarn to the blankets as I go. And mini clubs. But that should only take sort of 2 or 3 days each month to get those in. So, and I've kind of made, it's not really a New Year's resolution, it's just a resolution. And we'll see how long it lasts. So you can be my judge as well. Caroline from the Aria Bark podcast laughed heartily when I told her this. And doesn't think I'll last past the end of January. My resolution is not to cast anything else on apart from the mini club blanket that I've got to make with the Yarn Unique mini club, because that mustn't go into stash, it's got to be used. That was my rule, if you remember. Any yarn that comes in has got to be used, it's not to go into stash. My resolution is not to cast anything else on until I've worked through my whips. Blankets not included because a lot of them are scrap and, you know, they are long-term projects. But there's 8 or 9 blankets, I think. I'm so sorry if you heard my tummy rumbling. That's Ewan's fault. I must go in search of hummus once I finish this. That's Nancy's fault. If you watch Nancy from the Kitty Scrapper podcast, she hummus all summer and I really wanted to try it, but I have a texture issue and she said to me, get the smooth stuff, and now I'm addicted to a particular supermarket's brand of caramelised onion hummus. I suppose there's worse things. Right, blankets. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 brought over from last year. And 4 already cast on and another 1 to go. So if you take 15 off my total of 40, soon to be 41, that gives you, watch me doing maths now, 26 if you include the one that I haven't yet cast on. 26 whips that are tees and hats and mitts and scarves and cowls. I want to finish all of those before I cast anything else on. And if I can manage that, how wonderful would that be? I would feel very, very pleased with myself. My craft room would be so much tidier because there is the shelf of shame, which you may remember. The shelf of shame is stuffed full. I cannot get another pair of socks in there even. And then there's the chair that I use to sit at my desk when I'm sewing. That's full of bags as well. So, wow, it would be so much tidier if I just worked my way through all of that. And some of it wouldn't take me terribly long to finish at all. Others, like my Advent projects, they're going to take a lot longer because they only got worked on for a little bit. But yeah, I think it's an achievable goal and that is my plan. Let's see how long we can stick to it. But as it stands, on today at 13:52 on the 9th of January 2024, I have not bought a pattern and I have worked only from stash, apart from yarn I've dyed up myself, because the mini club hasn't arrived yet. But that's really the only yarn I'm buying this year. Can I maybe have a little star on my chart? Maybe not a gold one, but just a little one. Right, I'm going to go now because my stomach is just going to continue to rumble extremely loudly until I go and put something in it. So I'm sorry it's only a very short one this week. There's not much to tell you other than what I've told you already. We had a little bit of snow yesterday. I must do the weather report. How silly of me, I forgot the weather report. Yesterday it turned very, very cold overnight, the night before. Woke up to any moisture was thick ice. Then in the evening we had a little bit of snow that I was sure was going to settle because it was so very cold. It was sort of below freezing. It was, with the wind chill, it was -4. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but not very warm. And the only snow that's left is a tiny bit on roofs. I'm very disappointed. I'm waiting. If you've been around for a couple of months, you'll know I am waiting, desperately waiting for snow. I love snow, mainly because I don't have to go anywhere in it. So I do have to go out towards the end of January for hospital and doctors and stuff. So that's when it's going to snow, isn't it? And I will probably break an ankle or a wrist or something, or a hip, being an old lady as I am. So yeah, maybe I shouldn't be waiting quite so eagerly for snow. We probably won't get any. We haven't had any really for, not proper snow that hangs around for more than a day. 6 years, about that. Maybe 5. We don't get much snow here. Anyway, flooding, lots of flooding. Lots of flooding. Somerset levels, one big pond at the moment. It has been apparently the wettest December since records began. How lovely. Anyway, at the risk that I'll carry on rambling on just whatever comes into my head because I'm trying to drag the time out for you, I'm going to go. I'm going to have something to eat because I'm very, very hungry, and I will see you all next week if you haven't got bored to death of me and decide never to come back again. Anyway, I will see you next week. Happy knitting. Bye, guys.